All right, welcome back to Ward 1 Talk. We are at 8403 Yonge Street. I'm Mikey OBrien, joined alongside Ward 1 Councillor Keith Irish. And Keith, well, this newsletter right over here was sent out to Ward 1 residents. So what are two things that we should be focusing on over the next little while?
Well, I think first and foremost, Michael, development. Ward 1 in Thornhill, Markham, is under intense pressure. We have currently 5 active applications in front of us right now that represent about 5,000 residential units, and I'm aware of at least 5 more that are coming in the next year or two. So that's certainly one thing that I think people should be focused on. The other is safe driving. I know gridlock makes commuting a nightmare. Getting anywhere, any time of the day, any day of the week, any time of the year is difficult. Tempers are short, but people should drive according to the speed limit, road conditions, and just go carefully. Allow yourself plenty of extra time. We're all faced with the problem, and it's a tough one, but we're working and trying to solve it too.
And now we'll be welcoming Jim Jones, who is a regional councillor, but also the chair of Markham's Development Services Committee.
All right, I'm here today at a piece of property in Ward 1 that's called the Langstaff Gateway. It's 116 acres of land, and it runs from Yonge Street in the west to Bayview in the east, and is bounded in the south by Holy Cross Catholic Cemetery, and in the north by the 407. It's ripe for development. In fact, the City of Markham has had an approved development plan, a master plan for this area, for about 10 years now. And there really isn't anyone who doesn't know more about this particular file than my friend and colleague, Regional Councillor Jim Jones. Jim has had a distinguished career in public service with the City of Markham, about 25 years coming, and was also in Ottawa as a member of Parliament representing Markham as well for a few years. And Jim happens to chair our Development Services Committee. So all development applications in the City of Markham come before Jim's committee. So if there's anybody could be a better go-to person about what's planned for this area, I can't think of them. Jim also has a great reputation for being a visionary. I can personally say that, having been on council with him for a year, he is one of the hardest working members of council. And Jim, welcome to Ward 1 Talk. It's great to see you.
Yeah, thank you, Keith, and thanks for the kind words, and I really enjoy working with you. And this is a very exciting file, and we've been working on this file for a long time. In fact, in 2003, 2004, York Region sent Beaver Valley Stone a letter saying they're going to expropriate their land for a bus maintenance facility. In 2004, 2005, 2 applications came in from the east side of Langstaff and the west side with high density mixed use. And then in 2006, I put a motion in, 2006, 2007, I put a motion in at Markham Council to plan these lands as one integrated mixed use, complete, high density community.
So what's the plan, Jim? So here we are today. What are the numbers? What are we talking about in terms of?
We're talking, this is, once implemented, once completed, we're talking 15,000 units and 3.5 million square feet of office and retail. And this is one of the highest densities in the GTA at 1,140 people and jobs per hectare. So for the last 10 years, we've been trying to, Condor and Angus Glen have cleared the lands, or cleared a lot of the lands, and right now both Condor and Kyle Mora are anxious to go. They got applications in. We're working on integrated schools, okay, the Greenway, the stream, okay, and whether we should go over or under the tracks.
I think what Jim has touched upon is we have, to some extent, a blank canvas here. We have an opportunity to do something unique and to get it right, and get it right out of the gate. Jim's mentioned about the number of schools, or the fact there will be these, what we'd like to think will be urbanized schools. There's 3 of them, 2 public and 1 separate elementary schools that are planned for the area. As well, once it's fully built out, we'll have a fire station here as well. Ward 1 currently has 1 fire hall. This area obviously will necessitate a second. But in addition to that, though, Jim, we're talking number of residential units, I believe is about 15,000, right, once that's all built out. The number of people ultimately that
35,000.
35,000 people that could end up living in this area. It's quite remarkable. What about the commercial and the employment aspect of it?
There's 3.5 million square feet of office and commercial, and hopefully that means a lot of people that live here can work here. And then just the last point I'd like to make, if we hadn't have done this plan, there would be no thoughts of a young subway today.
Right, right. Well, that's pretty important. In fact, you touched upon an important element there. This only works if we've got transit. So let's talk about, because I know we've got a GO train station here, Langstaff GO train, which is obviously integral to the development of the site, the prospect of the subway, but to elaborate a little bit, Jim, in terms of how you think it'll all work together.
Without disclosing anything, the subway is active now. It's one of the high priorities of the Ford government. It's one of the 4, and we're talking like 2030, which is still a long ways away, but it takes a long time to build it. And at the same time, another important part of this hub is the 407 rail transit way is slated to go by here, and the Richmond Hill GO line, which I like to transform into or repurpose it into a more frequent service, shorter trains, and more stations. And so that when I take the Richmond Hill GO, I can go someplace other than just Union Station.
We're also fortunate today to have one of the principal landowners with us. Condor is one of the principals. In fact, they own about close to 60% of the land here at the Langstaff Gateway. And I'd like to bring in Sam Morra. Sam's the Senior VP of Development for Condor. Good to see you, Sam. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you as well. Thank you, Keith.
Thanks for letting us on your property.
Oh, our pleasure. Great to be here.
You've obviously been involved in this for quite some time. I appreciate that Condor's owned the land for how long?
Oh, goodness, since 2006.
2006?
Yeah, Romeo de Gasperis has been accumulating the land, and God bless his soul, he's been a great visionary for us, and we want to carry on the legacy of the good planning vision that he's had for this area.
Okay. Well, let's pick up on that a little bit. You've mentioned vision a couple of times. What is your vision for the property? And then I'd like to hear a little bit more, because you're the first with an application out of the gate. I'd like to hear a little bit more about what you have planned. But let's start with the vision.
Terrific. Well, we see this as a major transit area, and as a result of that, you've got a lot of opportunity because you've got the 407 transit way, you've got the subway coming, you've got Viva, all the different bus routes. It's a prime location, including the GO, to make an area of highly intensified development. And that's what we love about the area, and we think people are going to love that about the area as we move more and more away from vehicles and cars and carbon emitting pollution. We're going to move more towards active transit, and that's what we're trying to create, a livable, workable, walkable type of community. So that's our vision. And then in terms of phase 1A, I believe there's approximately 1,000 units that are going to be predominantly within two buildings that we're working on, and we want to make sure that we've got that all figured out in terms of the park and the creek and everything around it that's going to make it a beautiful place to be. So we're looking forward to getting started. We're very close, and with your help, we know that we'll get this over the finish line.
Okay, you mentioned the creek, and we're standing in front of it, roughly, and you've done some work here. Tell us a little bit about what you've done since you've owned the land.
Yeah, so this was a highly urbanized creek. There was a lot of pollution that had been encumbered the creek, and there was a lot of dumping and activities that we've since cleaned up. We've spent over $4 million in cleaning up the area, and we've placed this conspan unit which forms the bridge for the south road to go over and connect the east and west sides of the west precinct, going right out to Langstaff onto Yonge Street. So we're proud of being able to help clean up the area and transform it into a strong, vibrant community that it's going to be.
Okay, well, this has been wonderful, guys. Any last words, anything you'd like to touch upon before we wrap it up today?
Well, we just want to thank, from Condor's side, we want to thank both of you for being supportive of the community and working with us to making a top-notch, first-class community that everybody can be proud of.
That's great. Great. Jim?
And I've been working
Jim, you can't top that.
No, I've been working on this file for 15, 16 years since I've been on regional council, and it's nice to see something like this coming to fruition.
Yeah, fantastic.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you both again. I appreciate it.
All right.
Keith.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks, Jim.